Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're in what I like to call Constitution Hall in my house, where we're going to discuss kind of an end of year theme. Now usually I talk to you guys about what we did through the year and what I found exciting and things like that, but this year I want to do something a little different, and I want to answer a lot of the questions you have. So recently on my Facebook page at facebook.com/HO Scale Product Reviews, I posted for people to send me in questions that they have, and I would answer them no matter what they are. And so we've compiled a list of questions from that, and questions that have been asked from me or to me for a very long time. So some of these questions up front are very hard-hitting questions. Some of them are not nice questions. I'm going to answer them all anyway, so please go ahead and stay tuned as we start the very first question and answer session right now. Alright, so before I start, I'd like to introduce the interviewer, the person that's going to be asking the questions. That's Bob from the Bob's In-Scale Man Cave. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel. There'll be a link below pretty much this entire video to check out his YouTube channel. If you are in the in-scale or just want to learn about model railroading in general, Bob's a great channel. He gets straight to the point on a lot of issues. And thanks, Bob, for taking the time to be the interviewer, so I'm not just talking to myself here. But with that said, I'm going to pass it off to Bob. We're going to go through some questions very quickly and get you guys some answers to the questions you've been asking.
Well, thanks, James. This will be fun to do. You know, it's one of those new things.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people want to hear a lot of the answers to these questions, and let's get right into it. Well, this is a hard-hitting question right here. When did you start modeling?
I started modeling in 2009, and I started doing videos at the exact same time as I started modeling, within days. Mm-hmm. So my cousin Chris got me a train set when I worked in California. I set up that train set. Me and my wife didn't have kids at the time. We wanted our house pristine. We moved it to the third car garage in California when we lived there. And as soon as that set was set up and my cousin was back in Indiana, I started doing videos basically to show him the progress I was making on model railroading.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some of those early videos. They were very different than what you're doing now.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, that's good. So, are you really colorblind?
Yes. Best and most recent example of that is the Lionel HO Scale review, I think it was, where I said something was red, like class lights were red when they were actually green, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. I am what's considered red and green color deficient. It kept me from being, a lot of things I wanted to do in life related to aviation. I still got a lot of pilot hours accumulated kind of working around the system. But yes, I am colorblind, and it does kind of bite me in the butt on cases like that Polar Express review.
Yes. I do remember commenting on that as well. But next question. What gauge wiring did you use for your current layout?
So current layout has 12 gauge wires for the bus, which is the main connection points through all the modules, and then 20 gauge wire for the feeder lines that actually go up to the rail.
Okay. Is that kind of standard?
No, I did some research, and I think there's a lot of different suggestions out there, and I think I had finally decided to go with Barry Silverthorne's suggestion, which he's the producer of Trainmasters TV and a pretty good modeler, so I think I went with what he had suggested, at least on, I think, the bus line.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. Next question. How many hours a week do you spend on trains?
That's real hard to gauge. Answering viewer email, I don't really respond to comments as much as I should, but there's a lot of email that comes through at jlwreviews@gmail.com. And then the videos, obviously, if it's really light, I could say something like 5 hours a week. But that would include the response time or the advice to a lot of people that ask or responding to review requests. And I've gotten real bad about that lately. Sometimes somebody just send a review request and I don't even respond. It's like, okay, got it. And then hopefully they understand that I got it when they see the review. But I'd say the average time would probably average out to 10 or 15 hours a week.
Not including just plain shopping on the internet or anything like
Right.
that.
That doesn't include that.
Yeah.
I've got a full 40 hour plus sometimes work hour a week. I do get out. I joke with my boss that I usually only do that 40 hours or that 7:30 to 4:30, but yeah, that includes that.
Oh, yeah.
Or doesn't include that.
It doesn't include that. We all like to take our spare time and shop. So, do you get any free trains?
There's one of the hard-hitting questions.
Yes.
I was like, I thought they were coming up soon. So yes, and it's kind of hard for some people because they don't see all the videos, but I've addressed this several times in videos. I do get free trains. They still have not tipped the scale of what I have versus what I bought, what I get free versus what I bought. But it's not always that simple. Sometimes it's borrowed. Sometimes it's purchased and then kept to get whatever little money I can get back, because online they go for a fraction of what their MSRP is or what you pay, even with a good discount. So yes, on occasion I do get free trains. It isn't raining free trains all the time. There have been certain projects that it's like, wow, cool, they're letting me keep this, and it's kind of expensive, but it's not crazy.
Okay.
Yep.
So I noticed that you do a lot of reviews of trains. So how many trains do you actually have now?
So, and people have asked me to do a inventory or like a video of all my trains. Taking out that many trains out of the box or even just showing the boxes can be construed as either timely or arrogant, and I don't want to be either. I don't count how many trains I have. To the last count, which was earlier this year, it was over 200 locomotives and tipped over 1,000 pieces of rolling stock. But that was like March or April, and I have no idea where I'm at now. I know it's somewhere more than what that was. It is kind of ridiculous when you think about what I get to run versus what I don't.
You don't. You always have to keep some for yourself, of
Yep.
course. So speaking of that, how many trains do you sell, or do you sell?
So just the sheer amount of trains I've reviewed, I'm just guessing would be over $250,000, maybe in MSRP or even street price. I don't know, but there's no way I can keep all that in there in the train room. So, and just for people who don't know, my train room is not a basement; it's a utility room within a very large basement. But I've given the basement to kids, to my children, to have the room to play, and even have some larger things like trampolines indoors. What happens is basically I get too many, and that's usually what drives me getting rid of some, and I do sell them on occasion. Again, if you had to average it out, I'd say once a year is about what I'm sitting, that I usually try to purge some things. And since it's space driven, I usually try to get rid of the largest stuff that I don't want. But a lot of times I'll review an item because somebody suggested it and then fall in love with that item. Most recently, a video I just put up shortly, or not too long ago, was Broadway Limited's cab forward. I kept getting review requests. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I get the locomotive. I'm like, man, this thing's amazing. So I ended up, keeping it, even though it's not really nowhere in my scheme. So sometimes that's where my core collection has gotten ridiculous, and a lot of shelves have gone up and up and up in the utility room. Utility room's still pretty large at about 25 foot by 25 foot, L-shaped, but it's, I'm running out of space for shelves, so every once in a while I'll clear them out a little bit and get rid of some trains, and then I turn that money back into train shows. Like this year I went to the Brass Expo, I went to the National Train Show and Milwaukee Train Fest. Those were $1,000 a piece. Sometimes they get turned back into reviews. Like Broadway Limited's releasing a L1 locomotive, and I bought passenger cars just for a run by. One review is going to cost me $1,000, both with the locomotive cost and the passenger cars I bought for the run by. So you're looking at, the money is kind of going everywhere in and out, but it definitely gets reinvested back into the channel.
Okay. So it kind of sounds like you're just running trains or collecting them.
Yeah, that's another one of those questions where I get accused of being a collector. Is there a lot of time to run trains? No, but I do bring my sons down. We run trains on the weekends. I'd say average about once or twice a month. It may only be 10 or 15 minutes. I don't do operating sessions. I haven't learned about that yet. I do have a giant loop. If you look at it from a bird's eye view, it's a giant L, double main line, 20 foot one direction, 20 foot the other, with some branch lines and some yards. But yeah, I'd say once or twice a month on average, I run trains for enjoyment. And I'll look on my shelves and say what needs to be rotated out. Sometimes stuff still doesn't get attention. But
Well, in that case, since you don't do a whole lot of running trains, do you consider yourself more of a modeler, or just kind of a collector kind of thing?
so I consider myself a modeler, and this actually came up on a forum recently. Like, what is a modeler? I've done so much stuff. Again, there's too many videos for them to see the big picture. But I've done decaling, DCC installations, I've built structures, I've done wiring, I've laid hundreds of feet of track, done scenery, I've done water scenes and grade crossings, and so I definitely feel I'm a modeler. I've even put detailed parts on locomotives. What I haven't done is weathering. I've paid for weathering to be done. I've had weathering services, but I have not dove into that because I'm pretty sure I'm going to fail. I'm a bad artist, can barely draw a stick figure, but that's really the only aspect of modeling I haven't at least dipped my toes in. Now, have I gone as far as people have gone in 7 years now of modeling? No, but a lot of my time is taken with the videos and the reviews and answering questions, things like that.
Right. Your focus is different than most other modelers.
Yeah, it started as the whole channel started, like I said, showing my cousin what I was doing, and then it turned into let me do reviews and how-tos to show people as I struggle, because I'm horrible at everything, electrical, carpentry, all that. And so as the channel grew, it started taking more time and more time and more time away from the hobby. So it became a part of the hobby, really.
So, speaking of reviews, some people say, how come you're not more picky?
Yeah, that's another criticism I get. So a hobby by definition is just kind of escape from your day-to-day life, something you enjoy. And so that's kind of the approach I took going into this hobby. Some of my earlier reviews, people can look back and see I missed half of it, either from lack of knowledge or I caught some things, and I still catch some things, but I don't catch as many as some of the people that are super detailed, or AKA rivet counters, would want me to catch. So I'm not picky because it's escape from the daily grind of work, and I kind of enjoy it, so I'm not out looking for stuff. I think there's too many modelers out looking for stuff, and if those are the type of people that want to be modelers, that's fine, but they need to build onto those locomotives or just start from scratch or basic kits anyway. Because having a business major and a couple business degrees, I also see that companies will sometimes intentionally skip items because of cost. So does it make sense to put a pipe somewhere that's going to cost another $5,000 in tooling that might just sell 3 more locomotives? So that's kind of what the perspective I bring to it.
Another question someone had said was, how come you don't disclose which trains are free and which ones are paid for?
Yeah, that's another tough question. So at first I thought I was going to, and for a few videos I actually put that on there. And then we ran across sometimes reviews had free items mixed with items I bought. For example, a lot of times if you see a bunch of different schemes, a company may send me one, and then I got to purchase the others. Sometimes, not all the time. So it became a mixed bag. And then a part of me is a little arrogant. Like, I don't owe anybody anything in terms of that, because I'm spending a whole lot of time doing this. I started out for the first solid, from 2009 to pretty recently, everything was out of pocket. So, and then whatever, like I said, whatever is given gets reinvested somehow. And I just said, I'm not going to waste time disclosing that. I disclose it generally by saying some trains are free, I'm not going to spend time editing in a comment every video. At one point, I thought I was going to do that, and I said no. And same thing, people ask about reviews, which I don't know if that's one of the questions. Why do you call it a review if you're just going to be not picky? Or, first of all, again, a little bit of arrogance. I brought HO scale reviews to YouTube. To my knowledge, when I was looking around, I could not find anybody else that did HO scale product reviews in 2009 on YouTube. There may be out there, I don't know. So, but in terms of now it's widespread, I'm going to call it what I want. I still mention stuff. I don't spend 6 hours on it. I pass it along just as quickly as I pass on a compliment. So I don't really fanboy out on anything, just on rare occasion, to where I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing for 2 hours. It's 2 seconds of mention and then on to the next thing, pro or con.
Yeah, before YouTube, most reviews would have been done in a model railroader magazine or by, just talking to other modelers.
Yeah.
Do I like this? Do I not like that? Talking to the hobby shop and so forth. YouTube's definitely brought that out to a little bit more broader audience.
And, I get compared to Model Railroader magazine a lot because one of the main complaints is, they do reviews, but they're being paid thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars or whatever the case is by the same companies.
Right.
I've never taken a paycheck from a company like, oh, well, can you do this review for $1,000? Or can you do this review for $500 or whatever the case is? Like I said, at best, it's been sporadic free product.
So, you spend 15, 20 hours a week on this. Should you be compensated for this time?
Yeah, I don't expect to build an empire from it or build a mansion or anything like that, but I definitely don't mind getting free items on occasion and then using that to reinvest into the channel. People don't see what's going on behind the scenes. They don't see this $1,600 camera. Did it need to be a $1,600 camera? No. But I'm jittery, and people, yeah, because people were complaining. People would complain I was too jittery, so I bought this camera with this nice, floating lens in it that was high end. But do I need to do some of the things I do? No, but I do them, and it goes right back in the channel. From things as simple as business cards to $1,600 cameras to lighting equipment to the trips. I feel that as long as I keep that balance of putting it back in the hobby and not getting rich, or even, I tell people this as well, I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but it doesn't register on the radar versus my income from my job and other sources, investment sources and stuff. So as long as it doesn't register on that radar, become primary, it's not in my budget. Like I don't say, oh, here's my mortgage and here's how much I make, and then I add YouTube in there from all the stuff, and as long as it doesn't do that and I'm reinvesting, I sleep well at night.
Cool. Some people were asking, why do you call it a review if you don't list the pros and cons?
Yeah, again, the same kind of thing. I started the review process, so I'll keep that title. But a misconception is I don't list the pros and cons. You can look back at the last 5 videos and find a con or find cons listed. But again, I don't dwell on them.
Right.
So, like the Polar Express, for example, I talked about the wheels and how some people didn't like the wheel color. I talked about the fact that it had derailed once. I talked about the fact that it cut out at speeds under 3 speed steps. But people don't see that. They just see, 400 and some videos, and they pick portions of each video, and those portions happen to be positive because most things are positive. Again, I approach this hobby as a escape, and I'm not going to start out with a negative footing and just be like, here's this train, it's gotta suck. Let's find out why it sucks. No, I started off as an escape, and if there's some issues in the process, they are mentioned.
Yeah, it sounds like some people want a chart listed in front of them so they can stop and read it and go, here's the pro side, here's the con side.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways, I guess.
Yep.
So, why do you interview companies at a train show?
So, that started, I actually drew inspiration from model railroad hobbyists doing that. And I think I saw Model Railroader magazine doing that. and I wanted to kind of create a video for certain train shows, mostly Milwaukee Train Fest is where I started this theory at, where you're getting to see the layouts and see the interviews from the manufacturers while they're showing the product. So we're showing the product, the manufacturers are feeding the mic with their information. That's not the time for me to critique a product because it's mostly pre-production samples. So that means they're not done. Sometimes manufacturers take the negative inputs of this isn't right or that isn't right and fix it while they can. Some ignore it or whatever. But that's not the time to do the review. That's the time for the manufacturers to talk about what's coming out, show the sneak peeks. Sometimes major announcements. There's a pretty big announcement coming up at Amherst. I'm not going to be there, but you know, they take Amherst and Milwaukee Train Fest and sometimes the National Train Show and they make announcements. So I show the layouts and I show the interviews of the manufacturers showing what's cool and what's coming out.
Sometimes they get a little bit of feedback from the crowd as well, like there's something wrong with this. You know, we didn't notice.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's always good. Speaking of which, you're not going to go to Amherst.
Right.
So why not?
Well, first of all, it's cost. This year and most years I go to 2 to 3 train shows, sometimes 4, and those are about on average $1,000 a pop. Sometimes I take my high-end female cousins with me to do the photography work, and they don't work for free, so I pay them. Sometimes I get lucky and I have a friend like you that'll go for free as long as you pay for room and board and food, stuff like that. But still, when you do the math between gas or airfare, you know, you're looking at $1,000. This year alone, I went to Milwaukee, I went to the National Train Show, I went to Rapido in Canada, and seems like there's one more I was going to mention, but I can't remember what it was. But I believe it was 4 different places. I can't remember. I travel a lot too, but that incurs cost. And
the Brass Expo.
Brass Expo in Chicago. So all those were not close to here by any means. The closest was probably 7 hours. So those incur costs, and Amherst is really expensive. Last year was the closest I came because I found a really good airfare deal, but I was still looking at about $1,300 out of pocket. Now, I've been encouraged by manufacturers to come. I've even been kind of tempted, like, come on, there's this great item coming this year or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. Weather, you know, I shop discounts just to stay in the $1,000 range. I'll get airfare or hotel that, you know, you can't cancel sometimes. And when you do that, if a winter storm comes, like they have a lot in the Northeast, you're out that money. If you go, okay, I've just spent a whole lot of money that I could have spent on reviews or rolling stock or personal interests to go to a show. And then there's also the Al Mayo factor. I call it the Al Mayo factor. Al Mayo has covered the show fairly well. He's got his own little LED business thing going on, but he covers the show or covers the major announcements, and it's like, you know, why, if somebody's already doing it, why do it? So again, I'm kind of on and off the fence about this. Maybe 1 year just to take in the spectacle, but my general stance is no, I won't do Amherst, and that's why.
So this is a good one. What locomotive impressed you the most or surprised you lately?
Well, I kind of answered that earlier, really. The Broadway Limited Cab Forward, I did not expect to really be, you know, I don't think I've actually seen a Cab Forward in model form, but I didn't really expect anything, and then I pulled out of the box and I fanboyed out for a couple seconds. I was like, wow, this is really cool, and then you kind of grasp yourself again, because you don't want to just ooze all over a review, because then you are just like blind to anything that's wrong or whatever. And by the way, I did find white wires going down to the trucks, which was kind of, could have been black that I caught after the review, but the other than that, it was a really beautiful locomotive and it really caught my attention.
Oh, on the forums, you seem to chew people out a lot. Are you angry?
Yeah, so it's one of those copy and paste questions. On the forums, I get kind of passionate. maybe in keyboard warrior mode a little more than I should, but people can always come and see me face to face, where a lot of keyboard warriors you can't, you know, because they know I'm at this show or that show. But the forums are kind of a negative place. I don't even know why I go there half the time. There's a lot of positivity and countering to the negative, but there's a lot of negative, and the negative eats me up even recently because, like I said, I'm trying to escape from day-to-day life, and my life is not by any means negative. I absolutely a beautiful wife, lovely kids, love my job, drives me nuts sometimes, but I love it. But it's still the hobby aspect of, okay, set the world aside and go play with trains or whatever. And when people tear each other down or look down on each other, that eats me alive, and I don't really hold back on the forums. So I have kind of ripped into people on the forums, and even in my, you know, I've even said certain companies need to improve on certain things and things like that.
So part of your reviews, some people have said that you don't seem to know everything about a locomotive and the different parts of it.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I took it a little more seriously, but I saw it didn't get me anywhere. I did as much studying as I could through Google searches, but I've noticed that as the views get larger and the subscribers get larger, you get this larger audience. I start reviewing stuff that I wouldn't normally review, like the Bachmann 440, you know, the Golden Spike anniversary locomotives that met each other in Promontory, Utah. It's like there's too much of a difference in all those locomotives to keep track. The other thing is they don't do what they are. So if I say this is a radiator fangirl, it's really not cooling anything or passing air. Or if I say a dynamic brake intake, it's not taking in air with a dynamic brake fan or anything. So, you know, it's not really doing what it is. It's a model. So I still spew mostly the same things over and over again. I still learn. You know, somebody told me, hey, it's not a cow catcher, it's a pilot. So I called it a pilot on one of the steam locomotive reviews, and then what's the comment below? Well, that's a cow catcher. Where'd you get the pilot at? So I learned, but I'm not taking the time to just spew a bunch of stuff for parts that don't do it, because don't do what they are called in real life. Because I've talked to a lot of locomotive engineers, and they'll be the first to tell you that they don't go out there and know what every part or piece is on the locomotive. They just drive the darn thing. And, you know, they know the main things, kind of like I spew, but they don't know every little piece and part's name. So
If they're bored, they can look at the manual.
Yep.
So, why don't you compare photos between whatever they might be comparing to?
It kind of goes back to the time thing. It's extra time. I got to print a photo. If I show a photo without, or even print a photo, technically, you know, I should be asking for permission to do so. So if I'm playing by the rules, I should be going to ask for permission for whoever took the photo. And I don't have time for that. I don't have time to sit there and compare. I will see stuff that jumps out at me, but I'm not going to see if a latch is upside down like was on the early Athearn SD70 ACEs. I'm probably not going to catch that stuff, even with the picture, because I'm on a time crunch. You know, I get home at 5 in the evening, and I do the review, and I'm lucky to get to bed at 10 or 11 o'clock. And that's a quick review with the editing and the uploading and all that. So there's just not the time aspect to take that time and do it. And I probably would not catch a lot because I don't see well anyway.
You would also end up doing less videos per month, per week.
Right.
If you had to do more research on it.
Yep.
Okay. Do you care about your subscriber view numbers?
Well, milestones I kind of catch. And sometimes people remind me of my own milestones. So there's a forum post where somebody was bashing me about something, and some other guys come in there and said, this guy's about to hit 10 million views. And, screw the haters or something like that. I don't know. And I was like, oh, really? And I went and looked. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I've been kind of keeping track of that, and it's really about to roll over any day now. Subscribers, not so much. Sometimes I have people tell me, but I like the milestones. I caught when I hit 25,000 subscribers. I caught, the big million rollovers. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sometimes I'll get bored. I'll even search and see what each company has in views or whatever. But I caught my viral, quote unquote, viral video. Like the biggest video I have turned over 1 million views. But I don't really let it blow up an ego because, like I've told people, I think on forums and on videos, you go find a cat video where they're teaching their cat to poop in the toilet, and you get like 12
million views.
12 million views, more than my entire channel. It's like, whatever. Is it kind of cool for trains? Yes. But it's nothing. And I'm not that type of personality either where I get my chest puffed out. Not a whole lot impresses me. If you're a president of the United States, cool. I'm impressed. If you're a governor or senator, cool. I'm impressed. Anything below that, I kind of find is, something that could be achieved with a lot of effort or input. So I'm not a puff up my chest, look at me kind of guy. Flying a lot, you see how little the houses are, no matter how big they are on the ground, and how many there are, and you just kind of realize that you're just part of this giant world that nobody really cares what you do or what you puff out your chest about, because the world will continue with or without people. And it's kind of a doomsday view, but it's also a realist, like, don't ever think you're too big or important for anything. And then just to think that on trains is laughable, it really is. So if I was running around like, I'm a YouTube train guy, laughed off the planet. So,
well, on a personal note, I'm 3 subs away from 2,000 subscribers. Just
go sub to Bob.
Not that I'm bragging or anything. It's my milestone, so it's. Anyway, why don't you do a daily vlog then?
I looked at daily vlogs. I look up to daily vloggers. I even watch one myself. It's called Adam the Daily Woo.
The Daily Woo.
I almost fell. But the time that's required, and in order for like that guy to do the daily vlog, for example, he's got to have kind of an exciting life. To be honest, my life is quasi boring. I go to work, I come home, my wife has dinner ready. Then I eat dinner and I go do the train stuff if I need to. And then I watch my evening shows. I mean, I feel like I'm probably 70 years old. So my life is not exciting. However, as a preview, I plan on doing a daily vlog next summer just for a short period because there's a special place I'm thinking about visiting.
Okay.
So, but basically, in essence, too much time, not enough excitement.
Well, this is a hot topic. It's probably kind of controversial, but what are your religious and political views?
So, going back to the hobby thing, hobby is kind of an escape from life. So this whole Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton thing, I've completely stayed away from. The people close to me know my political views, and I hope they keep it to themselves, but there are a few people in the hobby and family, they know my political views. Religious, I take a little differently because I think you do need to, depending on your religion, profess your faith. So, religion, I am a born again Christian. Maybe not the best in the world. Definitely not the best in the world. Not the most faithful. Definitely sin, but that's kind of part of Christianity. You need the sin to get the salvation. Without the sin, there's no need for salvation or whatever. So. But the political stuff, I keep hands off. I treat it like the workplace. My videos in general. This is the first video ever where I've answered the faith question, but I will not answer the political question because that's something that does not require answering and needs to stay away from the hobby.
It usually divides a lot of people.
Yeah.
So.
And even you may see comments about Christian, but like I said, I feel that. In Christian staples, you cannot hide your faith. You cannot, be afraid, but be
believer.
No, you can't. Darn. we're gonna have to edit this now. You can't be embarrassed for your faith.
Right.
So, yeah, you need to. Yeah.
So, what drives you?
Well, from the beginning, it's been getting people the information they need to buy the trains they want. I know that sounds cheesy and it's all about the viewer, etc. It's not all about the viewer. This has become a hobby for me within the hobby. But if you took one component out of it that would make it fail, it would be the viewer. So you take away the occasional free trains, you take away the status, all that, fine. I'll still go on. You take away the viewers, if it's 0 views on YouTube, then I have no purpose in continuing the videos.
Right.
I would still continue the hobby. So my drive is the viewers mostly. The other contributing factors are that the videos have become a hobby. I look at ways to improve them. I look at constant ways to make them better.
Okay. Well, one last question.
Yeah.
If you were a train engine, which train engine would you be? If you had a choice. Basically your favorite train engine.
My favorite's probably 844 because that was the one that I first, I think, got me into the hobby a little further than just my cousin. Because they say there's a rail fan aspect to it a lot of times. I was in the trains when I was little, but there was a huge break. So I'd probably be 844, I guess, the FEF3 that Union Pacific has, because that was my first quote-unquote train love. So it's probably what I'd be.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites too. So.
I'm fanboying out a little bit on the big boy, but we'll have to wait to see what that, if that runs and everything, get everything done, and we get to see it on the main line. That might be my new love after that's all done.
Well, that covers all our questions for today.
Yep. Thanks, Bob. Again,
No problem.
be sure to check out Bob's YouTube page. He has a Facebook page too. But the Bob's N-Scale Man Cave, he's kind of brings a humor aspect to it that I skip a lot of times. I'm kind of a serious guy, but I wanted to take this time to give you guys the answers you had questions to in one video versus spread out over, just a few videos on my library. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It is towards the end of the year, so I want to thank you for this amazing year. Again, breaking a lot of records and views, busting through the millions. Reviewed a lot of great products, had criticisms, had lots of praise for items, met a lot of cool people, saw some of the industry groundbreaking cool stuff that came out. This was the first year that we had a new manufacturer actually produce an item. Scale Trains announced late last year and then they produced this year. So it was cool to have a new manufacturer, a new locomotive producing manufacturer to the scene. Some of the amazing things that all the companies are doing, but most importantly, what you guys do and what you contribute to my videos through comments and emails and support and passionate defending sometimes and even some tough questions. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks, Bob, for your time. We will see you next time, probably next year, right here on my channel. Take care.